Welcome to the program. Last week, we discussed education reforms in Kenya, and that remains a current topic. This week, we focus on the ongoing debate on the enforcement of regulations governing the provision of alternative basic education and training, or what used to be known as informal schools, with Bridge International Academies being one of the schools in focus. Now, some stakeholders, like the Kenya National Union of Teachers, feel that Bridge is not complying with the regulations.
The teaching and learning materials that they are using have not been approved by KICD.
So how come the children are doing KCP and passing?
Bridge would be a good model, but the consultation was not done.
It is taking these children away from the public education curriculum that they are supposed to be following.
We take the 844 system.
Everything we do at Bridge is about ensuring that every pupil has the highest quality learning experience in their classroom.
Now, NAT has handed over a report on its findings about Bridge schools to the Ministry of Education. We will tell you about the promise of the Cabinet Secretary in charge, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, on the way forward.
We will take a decision that is in the best interest of our country and the best interest of our children.
So sit back, relax, and follow this timely discussion on enforcement of education standards in Kenya. But first, here are some facts and figures about Bridge International Academies.
Bridge International Academy is a low-cost education provider started in Kenya in 2009, with Mukuru kwa Jenga being its inaugural location. It has 405 academies in 194 constituencies in 44 counties. Its first Kenya Certificate of Primary Examination results was in 2015. During that examination year, it registered 2,900 candidates in 39 counties. In 2016 KCP, Bridge registered 3,150 candidates. 6 students got 400 and above marks, and about 30 pupils will join national schools after attaining the 380 marks, a pass mark set by the Ministry of Education this year. Another 1,100 pupils got over 300 marks. And that's the fact sheet this week. Back to you, Alex.
We are looking into why Bridge International Academies is facing resistance from the Kenya National Union of Teachers amid allegations that it is providing low-quality education. And this is back to back with actually what happens in the Bridge schools with the side of their story. But first, let us understand the philosophy behind Bridge schools, as explained by Mr. and Mrs. J. Kimelman, a couple from the USA who founded the schools in Kenya, and now they call Kenya their home.
Kenya has such a bright future ahead of it. There's incredible energy here. But for that to happen for all of Kenya, not just a small part of Kenya, all of Kenya's children have to have access to a great education. Everywhere from Marsabit to Oloitoktok, and here in Nairobi, from Kangemi to Mukuru kwa Jenga. And in our work trying to understand how children were learning across the continent, we looked at 2 things here in Kenya. Both the need for great schools for families who are still struggling to get by, and just the amazing things that can happen in Kenya if all children are getting an education. So in 2007 and 2008, Jay and I came to Kenya, and even in the midst of the difficulties of early 2008, we were here and we were working with families in Mukuru and in Kangemi. And we saw that energy and that desire for a brighter future and decided that Kenya is where we would make our home and where we would start working with families and the government to improve education.
Everything we do at Bridge is about ensuring that every pupil has the highest quality learning experience in their classroom. And innovative technology that allows us to provide a lot more support for teachers, guidance for school management, and transparency so that we can make data-driven decisions is all about that.
So 7 years in existence, in 44 counties in Kenya, educated over 200,000 pupils, but facing resistance from the Kenya National Union of Teachers. Here are the claims leveled against Bridge schools.
Number one, these schools are not registered, so they don't meet the threshold of registration of the Ministry of Education. Number two, the teachers are not trained and qualified and they are not registered, so they don't meet the threshold of the law of the Teacher Service Commission. Law is created to regulate. Law is created to ensure minimum standards. The teaching and learning materials that they are using have not been approved by KICD. They don't meet the standards of Kenya Institute of Education Curriculum Development. It's not magic for anyone to walk into a shop, anyway, even here in town, and buy tablets and confuse us that they're able to use technology. No, it is not that way.
He went outside, picked up a can of paint.
So how exactly does Bridge International Academies operate? First, the academies fall in the category of schools and institutions that are registered to cater for disadvantaged persons who, due to various circumstances, cannot access formal schools in places like slums and marginalized areas. Bridge says it considers factors like population and accessibility when establishing its academies.
We want to go to a community whereby the market itself is concentrated and there is a deficiency for schools provision in that particular community. So we'll go and do a subsample of the population that is really staying in that particular community that we want to put up a school. Number two, we want to look into the affordability. Number three, also, we need to look at how far students walk to get to school in those communities. So it's good that we get to know and determine the distribution of schools and the allocation with reference to the homes of the market itself.
Regarding accusations that Bridge does not follow the 844 curriculum, the organization says, yes, it does, and at its headquarters, there are master teachers who interpret the curriculum and prepare digital teaching guides used by teachers in the Bridge academies. Hassan Said is the Kiswahili curriculum director.
Those lesson guides are now converted into XML and then uploaded into the server, the remote server cloud. Then the teacher in any area of the country will now be able to access that information, that data, using the Academy Manager's smartphone. The smartphone is enabled. It has an app which enables the Academy Manager to switch it on and then syncs with the tablets.
When I synchronize it, I receive any information from our head office that needs to be communicated to the teachers. Also, the teachers receive their scripts or their lessons for the day. And when the teacher comes in the morning, they usually come and then they record their attendance. Because you know that many schools are affected by attendance of teachers. Maybe some teachers come to school late, some even don't show up altogether.
We have systems where, even if I'm in Nairobi, I'm able to know what's happening in Busia County, and we have a very strong central office where most of the communication, once we give feedback there, we normally get the feedback out. And then you get up-to-date information about the kids. You know, pupils' performance with just a touch of a button. You see the way technology makes our work easier. Can you imagine as a teacher having a technology that is designed for her just to do her work? It's excellent.
The teacher will come in the morning and take attendance. Like, for example, this attendance which was taken in the morning. So these are the pupils who are present in the school. And once the teacher has done that, at 1 p.m. also I have to go around the classes once I've enabled the hotspot so that we can synchronize those attendance. They go to head office so that they can be able to monitor how pupils are attending classes. Because also sometimes, apart from teacher absenteeisms, pupil learning is also affected when they fail to attend school. So through that, we can be able to do follow-up and find out, maybe if a pupil has been absent for more than 1 day, we can follow up and find out what could be the problem.
Remember, we have the teacher computer and we also have textbooks. So the teacher computer directs you on what you're supposed to tell the pupil. It also tells you the page the pupils are supposed to open, the lesson you're supposed to teach for that day. So this teacher computer basically is just for instructions. It gives the teacher instruction on what to teach, and you can also add your own words in terms of explaining some point. Maybe the pupil can ask a question that is not in the teacher computer. So you have to elaborate to the pupil so that they can understand better.
As the current world is moving, we are moving digital, we are moving technological. So Bridge is embracing technology. Because of this, actually I'm here, no one monitors me, no one follows me up to work, but at least they know what I'm doing at the end of it all because of technology.
The question is, are the Bridge teaching materials approved by the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development?
The Bridge curriculum is in tandem with what the government requires of us. We teach the 844 system, and most of our content or learning materials have been provisionally approved by the Kenya Institute of Development curriculum. The other requirement from the alternative provision of basic training was that we furnish our schools with resource materials from KICD, which we have. Across our 405 academies, we have books from the Orange Book at KICD. We furnished all our 400 academies with other resource materials that are certified by the government.
Now, critics say the Bridge model of teaching using digital lessons is rigid, as it makes teachers mere conveyor belts, so to speak. But Bridge disputes the claims.
Quite the contrary. What the technology enables our teachers to do is spend their time focused on each individual child, so that because the teacher is getting access to content, world-class content that teaches the Kenyan syllabus, they now can spend their time, as opposed to the dozens of hours preparing their lesson, researching the best practices. They're able to tap into that, and then in the classroom spend most of their time working with individual children, working with small groups. So accessing high-quality content, but being a real mentor, motivator to each of the children in the classroom.
The other controversial issue is whether Bridge has complied with the regulation that requires schools under the alternative provision of basic education and training to have at least 30% of their teachers trained in a recognized teacher training institution and certified by the Teachers Service Commission.
And at the moment, we have 37%. So meaning we have fulfilled the requirement when it comes to teacher certification.
So we make every effort to recruit P1 certified teachers. Especially this year, we've really ramped up that effort. So in November alone, we've trained 700 new P1 teachers to go into our classrooms. We try and recruit P1 teachers because they have, a lot of them have experience, have additional training, and then we bring them to our training institute to make sure that they have everything they need to be successful in a Bridge classroom as well.
NAT insists that Bridge is into business as opposed to the objective of providing education to the poor.
We've seen the studies, the details. It's not even focusing on the poor. It is those who can afford among the poor who can access education. Why exclude them? Why pay? And you look at the business model, it's meant to engineer profits, it's meant to expand.
Tuko na shule kama 3 hivi ambazo ni za kibinafsi hapa Msambweni, lakini ilipokuja Bridge tukaona yale malipo ambayo mzazi analipa kwa kukidhi elimu ya mtoto hapa, tukaona ni kama ni usaidizi. Ukilinganisha na yale mashule mengine ya kibinafsi.
Penye nilikuwa nalipia mtoto shule nilikuwa nalipa shilingi 3,780 kwa tamu. Lakini wakati nilikuja kwa hii shule nilipa shilingi 2,530. Nikaona hapo ni afueni kwa mzazi kama mimi.
Bridge directors say the organization has even made efforts to economically empower parents, especially women in communities where their schools exist. The women under this program are known as super mamas.
We have to have a strong family so that we can have children who have strong support networks at home as well. So as part of our efforts in the communities we work with across Kenya, we've been working closely with women that you might have seen are Mama wa Mda. Last year, we held a women leadership conference for all of these incredible women from across the country, and we invited them to share their stories with us and for us to help build their strength.
Mimi ni supermama Bungoma County. Kuna wale wameanzisha biashara kama ndogo kuweza kukopeshana pesa na kuinua wale wenye hawajiwezi ili wao pia wakaweze kujimudu na waamuke chini waanze kufanya shughuli na hata waweze kulipia watoto wao karo.
By the time he was 16 years old,
Bridge International Academies boasts of being the bridge to international exposure for bright Kenyan pupils who would have otherwise never had a chance to go abroad.
We have 4 children on full scholarship in the United States. Their lives are dramatically changed for the better, and we know that they're going to help be building Kenya in the future.
Josephine Nyakundi is among the 4 students abroad. She is in Atlanta. We met her parents who hailed from Rongai in Kajiado County.
Wakati nilipata hizo news nilifurahi sana, juu sio kitu ya kawaida tena kwa mtoto mdogo kama huyo. Sisi tunajua watu wanaenda wakiwa watu wazima wakimaliza university ama wale wazee, lakini mtoto mdogo wa miaka 13 ati anaenda Amerika kufanya nini? Kusoma.
We are looking into the Bridge International Academies education model amid claims that the schools have not complied with the regulations governing the provision of alternative basic education and training. We sought to find out the position of the National Assembly Committee on Education on this matter.
We have not really gone into detail, but it's something that we are looking at as a committee, because we really need to know from the beginning, how did they start operating in our nation? Were they allowed by the ministry to operate? If yes, have they conformed with all the regulations of the ministry for the ministry to license them? So those are some of the things that we are now following up as a committee. I think Bridge would be a good model, but the consultation was not done. They just came in and started business, and they just started going to the community and talking to the community. My appeal is to the ministry. It's good for them to really sit down with Bridge, see what are the positive things that they are offering to the education sector, and if the benefits are more than the few issues that they have, then they can be allowed to continue. But if they are more detrimental to our education sector, more than the benefits, then they should not be allowed to operate in Kenya.
Not every requirement can be met immediately, so it's progressive. And so far, we've complied up to 70%. And we are progressing pretty well and moving very fast. Yeah, but what I know is the future is bright for Bridge. We've been able to demonstrate that, and we are willing to continue engaging with the government to ensure that we comply.
Member of Parliament for Kibra constituency, Ken Okoth, on the other hand, feels Bridge is being fought by cartels in the education sector.
I think Bridge have a lot of haters. For instance, they'll say that they don't do the Kenya curriculum. So how come the children are doing KCP and passing? How would you do KCP and pass without doing the Kenya curriculum? In fact, maybe if that is true, then maybe every school should just do whatever curriculum they want and prepare for KCP as best they can. As long as you pass KCP, good. So I think it's not about curriculum. I think there is an issue of cartels, of textbook producers who want to make sure if Bridge grows to 1 million children, who will sell textbooks to them. If Bridge produce their own internal learning materials and print it cheaply at scale, of course, some textbook producer who is in a cartel will tell you. And I think we've seen that segmentation. I'm very confident to say it here, that textbook production in Kenya, from the point of how it is licensed, is very cartel driven. If you look at the set of materials from Bridge, which I have, they are very quality material. The fact that the children now have access to quality books at Bridge is a game changer. So you cannot sell poor quality books to parents in Mukuru Kwanjenga when they can get quality books from Bridge. I think their model is actually very, very illustrative and very good. Right now, you see, we're talking about KCSE examination, KCP examination. Professor Magoha and the CS Matiangi have incorporated the use of technology to track how are exams delivered, when are they opened, and things like that. But Bridge has done this before also. They've done it with their tablets. They can actually, lesson by lesson in all the schools they learn, tell us, did the teacher go to class on time? Did they teach that lesson for the full 45 minutes? So technology can be used to do so many things. And I think Bridge are innovators. I'm excited about what they do. I'm sure there's more they can do.
Still on Bridge Academies, here is the take of Dr. Emmanuel Manyasa, the country manager of Uwezo Kenya, an organization that is known for conducting learning assessment.
Bridge International Academy is supposed to be an informal system of education in Kenya. And one reason why people are opposing it seriously is that it is actually competing with the public education system. Competing because it is taking children who rather be in a public school, because they charge a small fee, which is what parents who could take children in public schools can afford. And while it is competing with the public education system, it is taking these children away from the public education curriculum that they are supposed to be following. And that is the main bone of contention.
This is a Kenyan innovation. It started here. Making this type of innovative technology and getting these types of results for children require a lot of investment in terms of people, time, and resources. Bridge and its partners have invested more than 7.5 billion shillings over the last 7 years to ensure that education, particularly in marginalized communities, can be successful. And now this Kenyan innovation is being shared around the world. It's being used in 5 different countries and celebrated globally.
And before we hear the Cabinet Secretary for Education, Fred Matiang'i's way forward on the matter, here is a quick reminder of the recommendations NAT put forward about Bridge International Academies.
First of all, establish a school within the law. They must meet the law. Whether that vicinity that has been mapped out requires a school or not, first of all, we must meet the standards of the law.
Apart from that, NAT wants the government to ensure that Bridge does not operate as a business model because it does not fall under the private schools category. Rather, it falls under the provision of alternative basic education category, or what used to be known as informal schools.
This is one clear way of ensuring that the public education delivers on quality and delivers to every child and delivers on equitable basis.
After receiving the report, Dr. Matiang'i said this.
That I take seriously the report that we have received this morning, and we will incorporate it in the discussions that are going on with Bridge, that our ongoing engagement with Bridge is headed to a conclusion because we have completed our own report and you have given us an additional report. And our 2 agencies that are leading this, the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development and the Quality Assurance and Standards Council, are focused on this, and we want to come to a conclusion on this matter.
Today, the Cabinet Secretary, who has been hailed by Kenyans for spearheading reforms in the education sector, said the government would make an informed decision on the matter in the interest of the country, in the interest of institutions, and in the interest of pupils.
And ultimately, I want to guarantee you, and you can hold me responsible for this, that we will take a decision that is in the best interest of our country and the best interest of our children. I am a responsible public servant. All my colleagues in the Ministry of Education are responsible public servants, and we serve a responsible government. We will take a decision that is in the best interest of our children.
That's how we end our show today. Join us next week for our final episode on education matters. We will cross the borders and focus on how Liberia's education sector that was destroyed by many years of civil war is being transformed through public-private partnerships.
It was very challenging forging that kind of partnership because neither the government of Liberia nor Bridge had a blueprint as to how we could do this.
Find out why Bridge International Academies is one of the top providers working with the government of Liberia and whether that system is sustainable. So see you again next week, and thank you so much for watching.
Parents, teachers support me to see my